What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. Today I want to talk to you about a potential new lower price sedan that might be coming for Lucid, just to piggyback off of the peers' success and demand. So I want to talk about what that is, what that means for us as investors. Outside of that, I want to talk on the ratios. And a lot of people message me on Twitter and also put that in my comments, why is Lucid going down? So I want to go over some points that a lot of investors need to really watch for. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Always greatly appreciated. And with that, let's get right to it. For once, we have a green day, so that's a very good sign. So up almost 3%, 5.9 million for volume, and this is within the first 1 hour of the trading day. So it is fair to say that we're going to have a very heavy volume day. 27,000 shares being purchased by institutions as far as on the secondary market as well. So that's always a very good sign. So I'm just going to get this gone so you guys can see a little bit better. But when it comes to it though, we are very much green because of GDP numbers that did come out. Better than expected. Goes to show that the economy is still potentially growing. So GDP, as far as a quarter over quarter, it does go to show it came in at 2.9%. Forecast was 2.7. Previous was 2.6. Very good sign. And as I've been saying, this week, if any, is going to be the one that gets us out of the rut because of all the economic data that is coming out. So I still do anticipate us having a nice rally, whether it be because of starting today or later in the week. Again, there's a lot of different things that is coming out, but I do want to go over this article. So this article talks on that lower price mid-size SUV that is around 50,000, estimated to come out 2025 or possibly 2026, somewhere around there. But in here, they do talk on one thing. However, the Arizona-based automaker apparently has plans to go even more down market and introduce a new model, most likely another sedan that will cost around 50,000 and debut sometime this decade. So, and based on other estimates, it does look like they would be doing that technically in 2023. And of course, they'd be using the same assembly line, so it's not necessarily too hard for them just to add another trim, a sport edition or whatever it might be, just to kind of get the price down a little bit. So this is where when you are investing in Lucid, you are investing in long term. Whether it comes out in 2023, 2024, or whenever it might be, it goes to show that they're doing very good things and moving in the right direction. That's exactly what you want to look at when it comes down to a company, if they are actually growing. If they're, for instance, going backwards, then yeah, that's something that you need to really address. But with the PIF supporting Lucid as much as they have and are going to be doing, I don't think that there's any real reason to worry. And they've rarely been coming out with a lot of good things supporting Lucid. More recently, they've been talking about these green bonds. And this came out roughly about 2 months. Since then, they've come out with quite a few articles saying that they're supporting Lucid. But I want to address this one because some people are saying still, despite everything, that Lucid is going to go bankrupt and everything else. It doesn't make sense to me, but these green bonds, as you can see based on their pamphlet right here, this is their whole green finance framework. So it goes to show exactly who is going to qualify for these green bonds and at what length or kind of extent they're going to get it. So as you can see right here, I think it is fair to say that we already knew that it was going to qualify, but Lucid does qualify under the clean transportation, as does 𝗖𝗎. So again, there's going to be two different EV markets or EV companies in that whole region that is going to be able to get these green bonds. At the end of the day, there's still a lot of people that are very much under the impression that Lucid is going to get the majority of it. So that's very good for Lucid going forward. And technically, even if Lucid does come into any financial difficulty, more so in the next decade, I do anticipate the PIF at least giving them a lot of low priced as far as bonds. So as you can see right here, Lucid does have, and this on a side note is the majority of their debt, 1.25% bond that is coming and maturing on December the 15th, 2026. At the end of the day, that isn't much by any means. And so as you can see right here, it is that 1.7 billion or 1.75 billion, whatever it is. But again, let me know your thoughts on that. I want to address the fact that why we've gone down as much as we have, because looking at the price action, it has sucked. Plain and simple. I'm not here to argue that or whatever it might be, but it comes down to the ratios. And when it comes down to ratios, some people don't understand this. Looking at price over sales, you can see how hypothetically how much we're actually paying to obtain $1 of sales. So in reality, this is why in Q1, Q2, a lot of people said Lucid is very overvalued, because you can see these ratios. LTM is last 12 months, next 12 months. So just so you guys are aware, as you can see, based on the current levels, the forecasted for the future is very glim. So not much expectation on Lucid. And at the end of the day, this is where you do find pretty good value in stocks. When they've been beaten down so hard, but yet they do offer a lot of upside, this is where you can look at ratios and say, hey, Lucid is at a very good discount right now. And especially more so if you do coincide that with technicals, as I like to do. But I'm going to go into technicals near the tail end of the video. But going back here though, I want to talk on how this could be very much incorrect and why this might be a very good time to buy. So when it comes to price over sales, for instance, like I said, they're not really forecasting or thinking very highly of Lucid about the future. Keep in mind, in Q4, if Lucid does reiterate their initial target of 49,000 for overall production in 2023, then this will go up very, very high as far as the price over sales. Probably similar to what happened in Q4. So around the 23. So at the end of the day, we could go up very fast. And more so on a price aspect, or just based on that, we could easily go to around the $18. If you want to factor in maybe that 24x kind of scenario, or possibly it might even go higher. This is where when you are investing in, for instance, Lucid, you have to think long term, because there's a lot of bumps in the road, and unfortunately this whole ratio did not help the fact that they cut production targets from 20 down to 12 down to 6 to 7. So it does suck in that regard, because I think we did have a lot of good momentum, especially if they would have actually maintained that 20, then imagine where we would be at in this stage in the game. But with all factors in, we have to look forward. That's my own interpretation. And if you are ever looking at ratios, for instance, you have to compare only like-minded companies. You cannot compare Lucid, for instance, to Bank of America. You, in reality, probably shouldn't even compare Lucid to a general automotive company, because I think the EV sector is completely different as far as the fundamentals behind it and the costs associated to that. So that's just my own interpretation, who isn't a financial advisor though. But as you can tell, when you are looking, you have to compare, for instance, Lucid to Tesla, and then possibly as well, even more so, to Rivian. So for instance, right now, Rivian, their price over sales the next 12 months is 5.7. So their expectation and investors' kind of viewpoint on Rivian is very, very low. Whereas comparing to Lucid is at 9.4. So at least in that regard, we have a little bit more of an extra premium, because most likely our technology aspect. But let me know your thoughts on all of this. As of right now, the earnings, Lucid doesn't necessarily have any net profit, so no actual earnings or anything like that. So this is why this is all blank. Whereas in Tesla's case, you have all these ratios and other fun jazz. But like I said, technicals. Looking at stochastic, we are at 3. Despite us going up almost 3% today, we're still very much oversold. And looking at momentum, number of retail investors are up today. So clearly they're very happy about this green day. And I think a lot of investors very much needed it. On the actual chart, we are holding that $10 support level very well. But outside of that though, we're still technically in no man's land. So just following psychological levels, so around the hold numbers, so $10, $9.50 and so forth, that's most likely where we're going to be trading in the future, at least until we do have a nice good catalyst. And like I've been saying, there's a lot of good economic data that is coming out this week that could give us a nice little bump up. And more so as well, looking at Lucid, just like I said, we are very much oversold. So I think in general, we are very overdue for a value rally. So all in all, I think this week is going to be very exciting for us as investors, and hopefully a lot more green days. But with all that, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Is always greatly appreciated. If you do like my channel, want to support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.